You're listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Andy Zoll, filling in for Jeff Ranke. Jeff, feel better soon. And Anna Wells. We each have more than 15 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we take the 5 most popular stories on our websites and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, thanks, Marina, you can reach us at Andy, David, or Anna at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. Or you can subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can join us live every Thursday. Andy, how you feeling this week?
I feel great. How about you guys?
I'm doing good. Anna?
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll, yeah. And for the record, Jeff doesn't feel bad. He just has the sickness around him. So he didn't want to bring it in.
I mean, we still want him to feel good. So
I mean, well, yeah, true. It's like, you're not sick, so we don't want you to feel better.
Correct.
Just like in...
Yeah, maybe he has a tension headache or something. We don't know.
True. Very good. Well, before we jump into our first story this week, we have a word from our sponsor. Hi, I'm David Manti with Industrial Equipment News. Selecting the right hoses to keep your workers safe and facilities operational is crucial, but not all hoses are created equal. So, to help us work it out, Doug Nordstrom, hose product manager at Swagelok, is going to help us figure it out. Tuesday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. Central, please join us live. So, Doug, I heard that you can get lightning bolts in hoses. Is that true? And is that something we're going to discuss?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware of something called static dissipation, especially through softer material hoses like Teflon. It's a very common failure, and it actually is a lightning bolt that shoots through the hose, causing leakage.
No one wants that.
No one wants that.
And we're going to figure it out May 23rd. It's a Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. Register now to join us live. And we're back. And just a reminder that this week's episode is brought to you by Swagelok. Hose failures are unfortunately a very common source of equipment downtime and can create significant safety risks. So, join me, this other guy, on Tuesday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. for Mastering Hose Selection in Your Facility, a new live video podcast. So many things about hoses I didn't know. Nobody really knows. I guess that's why we're doing it. And also, before we jump into our first story, you can register for that in the link below and the link in the live chat. And a reminder that when you're leaving us positive reviews, please go to Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. We haven't had one in a while, so it'd be nice to get a good update for a 5-star review. All right, our first story this week. World's largest tower crane rolls off production line. The world's largest tower crane rolled off the production line this week at the Zoomlion Tower Crane Intelligent Factory in China. And boy, it's a big one. The R2000-720 can lift 500 cars up 130 floors. It has a 720-ton capacity and a 400-meter height. Now, I know what you're thinking, 500 cars with a 720-ton capacity, but the average car in China weighs about 3,000 pounds, about 1,000 pounds less than the average car in the U.S. It's that math. The crane will be used to build a 3-tower cable-stayed bridge with the world's largest span, the Ma Anshan Yangtze River Highway Railway Bridge, which is nearly 7 miles long. Anna, that's a big crane for a big bridge.
I think you really hit the nail on the head here when you said it was a big crane.
Big crane.
It's a big crane. And the bridge is also a big bridge.
Just a big bridge.
As you mentioned, this bridge is like 7 miles long. When I read that, my brain almost exploded. Mm-hmm. It's a 6-lane highway, and that's just a stomach turning amount of time to spend on a bridge, in my opinion. I can't believe that's a thing. And yet, It appears that China actually has a lock on this super long bridge thing, which are pretty cool marvels, but also things I never want to go near. So not all of these go over water, but China is home to 7 of the world's 10 longest bridges, I should say. The number one being the Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge in China, which is 102 miles long.
A bridge?
A bridge.
Oh, wow.
It took 4 years to build and cost between $8.5 and $10 billion, depending on the source, what that number is. But they have a lot of bridges that are like they traverse some water, but some just land, you know? But still, man, that's a long,
I was like, I don't have bridge anxiety, but there are people in my family who do. So I'm like, I don't even want to be in the car with these people going over a 7-mile bridge, 102 miles on a bridge.
I know.
Just pass on the region.
I know, totally. But when you look at them, it's kind of fun to marvel at just the innovation that takes place in regards to that structure, a structure of that size. I think we get excited about stuff like space travel and aircraft and, stuff that's like, automotive, things that are a little more flashy and exciting than like infrastructure. But like the advancements here from an engineering point of view are immense. And I think a good reminder that even though infrastructure spending is not exciting,
it's not going to Mars.
It doesn't generate the same excitement as the space program. That is true. But very much in need of our attention and infrastructure arguably more.
Yeah, helps way more people on a regular basis.
More people currently in need of that. Yeah.
Andy, there was something like 70 plus new innovations, they called it, and patents that they used on this crane specifically. I found it incredible, the amount of work that went into this and how quickly they rolled it out. So, I mean, from design to production in just 8 months, that was incredible to me.
Yeah, they posted a video just kind of highlighting in 40 seconds, but it didn't really give a lot of context to the scale. It's kind of in this industrial area, and it looks like there's just a couple of them there, so you don't really get a size. There's not like a nickel next to them, so you see how big they are.
No, you're right.
We need a scale
when you look at the photo, when you look at the photo, it looks like another crane on a shipping dock. Yeah.
So to give you an idea, 400 meters is a little less than a quarter of a mile. It's taller than the Empire State Building, and hoisting all these cars, 130 floors. That's most of the tallest buildings on Earth. So this is just it's so much bigger than anything that's been produced before. And you're right. The turnaround time is incredible. I did a little bit of casual research. I can't confirm this from a second source, but an article earlier this year that I read said the previous record holder is made by a company called Saren's, the SGC 250. Which, as the name suggests, is 250 meters high. That one is nicknamed Big Carl, so we're gonna need a new nickname for this guy building this enormous bridge across the Yangtze. But yeah, it's just a marvel, and it could some of those inventions and patents you talked about could have applications around the world, and here specifically because we're investing a lot in infrastructure here as our bridges and highways erode from the past generation and need upgrades. So. That's stuff that's certainly applicable halfway around the world from China too.
No, when you talk about it from an engineering perspective, it is sort of like breaks your brain when you think of a crane that could lift 500 cars at the same time up 130 floors. It's just hard to wrap your brain around that.
I would like a naming contest. Can we try to kick that off?
It's going to be Bigger Carl.
That can be the poll question this week. We'll just ask. Jeff's not here. We'll just ask Jeff's poll question.
What would you name the world's largest tower crane?
Right, yeah.
How can you beat R2000 720?
I think easily, yeah.
The company basically created this crane within 8 months because they created it as 18 parallel projects. They really wanted to, Zoomlion, the Chinese construction machinery manufacturer, wanted to kind of show off their advanced manufacturing techniques and use this sort of as the cornerstone of their most recent production. And it is, to both your points, incredible. And I'm just, as I've said before, I'm always a sucker for the world's largest anything or the world's first whatever. And if it can actually do some good, creating better infrastructure in the world, I guess that beats the world's largest cast iron skillet or whatever.
True. Yes.
Just like, what's the application? It just, you look at it.
Nothing. You can't even cook in it.
Nothing. Yeah. All right. Our next most popular story. 3M to lay off 6,000 workers. In a recent earnings statement, 3M announced it would be eliminating 6,000 positions to make the company, quote, stronger, leaner, and more focused. These layoffs are in addition to the 2,500 manufacturing job cuts the company already announced in January 2023. 3M says the job cuts will impact all functions and all geographies and will save the company some $900 million annually. CEO Mike Roman says 3M, quote, will continue to prioritize investments in high growth end markets where 3M science gives us a clear competitive advantage. These emerging growth markets include climate technology, sustainable packaging, industrial automation, semiconductors, and next-gen consumer electronics. And the company's Q1 profit was $976 million, despite a 9% dip in sales year over year. And I was surprised when he had mentioned the emerging markets, and the top of the list was climate technology. Mm-hmm. Some of these markets, growth markets that he mentioned, are things that I guess aren't top of mind when you think 3M.
Yeah, some of them I think are a little bit more business oriented. Obviously, they're taking a beating on consumer demand right now. Mm-hmm. It's been a little bit of a shaky week in manufacturing as it pertains to job. We saw this announcement from 3M. This is, of course, on top of positions that they cut back in January. We also heard from Stellantis, who is cutting 3,500 jobs through voluntary layoffs. So that was a little bit, I think, coming from the vantage point of that this week, I think everyone was feeling like a little bit wobbly about this. But it's, with Stellantis, they're kind of following suit what GM was doing. They're transitioning to EVs. What's going on with 3M? I think he said the word restructuring, and I think actually in the core sense of what restructuring is, like this might be that mm-hmm. for real this time. They have a lot of product lines, and they did point to some strong growth markets, as you mentioned, but they also have some laggards. And CEO Roman pointed to significant weakness in consumer electronics and consumer retail. That's going to hit 3M on everything that exploded during the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. Home improvement products, cleaning products, craft, organizing products, recreation, all the stuff that people bought like crazy that they're not now. Mm-hmm. And I think because the company is so consumer sensitive, this isn't necessarily atypical behavior for them. In 2019, soft demand led 3M to cut 2,000 jobs pre-pandemic. The years leading up to that were really heavy on job growth. I think it's interesting to note that between the Great Recession and the pandemic, about a decade, right? Mm-hmm. 3M added more than 21,000 jobs. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot for even them because they're like about 90,000.
Yeah,
so that's
like a little over 90,000.
A significant increase in company size. So to me, this feels like right sizing. Mm-hmm. And I think with consumer products, you just have a little bit more vulnerability when it comes to buying trends. And obviously, we're seeing some of that here. I think also something that's weighing on 3M that they did not mention, but it is unique to them as opposed to general economic murkiness that's driving business decisions, is that 3M, as we know, is facing some pretty significant pending lawsuits. True. Over its earplugs. And the company has put aside a trust of more than $1 billion to handle payouts on that. They've attempted to try to shield themselves from these lawsuits because of the bankruptcy of the subsidiary that produced the earplugs. Mm-hmm. So far, that's been unsuccessful. Yeah. So they do have some costly things to deal with outside of just a temporary weakness in consumer demand. And, maybe they don't want to say it, but that could be potentially driving this as well.
Well, and they're also spinning out like a healthcare unit coming up too. Andy, so 3M said that supply chain problems have largely gone away and all these backlogged orders have been shipped. So it doesn't need as much staff to handle the workload. And as Anna kind of alluded to, the biggest hit seems to be in consumer electronics.
Yeah, the reports on this basically have said that part of the business was down 35% in its most recent quarter, which is a ton. But I mean, it's worth pointing out here that, yes, this is with a company this size, these numbers tend to get kind of lost in the wash, and there's a lot of turbulence in the market. And a lot of companies are laying thousands and thousands of people off. But you mentioned their profit numbers, 900 million or so. Operating income was 1.2 billion. So they're obligated to their shareholders, but also this was a choice. They're still profitable. They're still making money. So this is a choice they've made. And it's not like they had to slash these jobs so they would make money. They're already making money. So it's just a matter of
they need to make
they
money.
feel the need to make more money. Yes. Yeah. So
they're worried about something, though. Yeah. I think that is clear, right? I mean, if they feel like some murkiness ahead.
Well, agreed. And so the cuts are coming as 3M reportedly has had steadily slipping sales. I think this is the 5th quarter in a row. Since the start of 2022, the company has seen its sales take progressively larger dips. So altogether, these 8,500 layoffs are going to cost the company between $700 million and $900 million in pre-tax charges, about half of which is going to hit the bottom line this year. But I think we had mentioned that it's going to see like $900 million in savings each year as a result of the layoffs. So, your 970 to the bottom line all of a sudden becomes 1.8 pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our next Jeff Franke, who is well enough to be watching us live. Jeff, miss you. He says the crane name should be Frasier.
Oh, that's a good one.
Frasier Crane. That is actually better.
Think they get that show over there?
I don't know, but I'm interested to see what it sounds like.
It's a good show.
It is a great show. All right. Working names, Frasier Crane and Bigger Carl. All right, our next most popular story this week. Ford Mustang adds remote rev feature. The 2024 Ford Mustang has a new feature of, quote, questionable usefulness. And that's attributed to esteemed colleague Ben Munson.
Not Ford's quote.
No. The automaker this week unveiled Remote Rev, which allows car owners the ability to remotely rev the engine of all V8 Mustang models, as well as 2.3-liter automatic models with Ford Active Exhaust. Remote Rev is triggered by pressing the lock and unlock button in short succession. So if you have small children that get a hold of your keys, prepare for future revving. Remote Rev starts at 2,000 RPMs, and if you hit the buttons again, it will rev to 5,000 RPMs. The feature only works when the vehicle is running and only after it's reached an optimal temperature from a cold start. It's also unclear if it serves any purpose besides being loud. Anna, typically I like these new features coming out on cars. I don't understand this one. I understand that this is this is part of the bridge, right? The bridge from internal combustion engines to EVs and people that are afraid of things that are going to get lost in the shuffle. So, how niche is that audience of people that needs a remote rev?
No one needs a remote rev.
Or wants it. Okay. So no one needs it.
Yeah.
Like a few more want it, maybe.
I don't know. It's to me, it was so unnecessary. It just felt like a response to just our need to want something new and bigger and better and more interesting all the time.
It's, when we're in April, I always like to check the dates of the press releases just to make sure it wasn't April 1st. Because I'm just like, wait a second, it's a remote rev while the car's already on, but you gotta wait for it to warm up.
Are we being punked? Yeah. I mean, we're just so used to technology now coming to the rescue and solving every single problem. Like there needs to be a hack for even any minor inconvenience or mild desire to do whatever. And I don't know. I think this gamification of society, I just feel like we're being infantilized. I'm trying not to look at it too seriously, but I clearly am. I just so new vehicles need to delight us in endless ways and leave out the fact that this feature is largely meaningless and add costs, like development costs, probably cost to the vehicle somewhere, right? Yeah. I mean, they didn't do this just for free. According to the NHTSA, the Ford F-150 is involved in more fatal crashes than any other vehicle on the road. So it's not like there's nothing else to work on, Ford. Well, I mean,
Anna's coming out swinging.
I'm just saying, if we had perfected the automobile in every way, then yes, by all means, remote rev away. But like creating on-demand noise, which nobody wants, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know. To me, this is what I would refer to as junk food technology. It's like super sugared up, offers very little in terms of value. We see more and more of this stuff in society, like these single-use gadgets, like smart coffee mugs that keep your coffee the perfect temperature, egg trays that text you when your eggs are about to go bad. I saw this once. There's an automatic floss dispenser that you can put on your mirror, and then you just tap it, and it gives you the exact right amount that you need. Like, we are capable of so much more as a society. I don't know. It's the stuff that just serves no purpose. It's just so lame, and this is even more than lame. It's probably a nuisance to those around it.
I do like the idea of junk food tech because I do believe that is a cornerstone of American culture. And you're right about having bigger fish to fry. I recently had the opportunity to catch up with somebody that was able to get one of the Ford F-150 Lightnings and just poor marks across the board.
Oh, really?
He was super excited. He's the most easygoing guy I've ever met. And he's just like really, really missed on that one. Just because I think he doesn't have the supercharger at his house. So I think with just the plug-in, he's getting like 2 miles per hour range, like for charging. And it's just been overall a disappointment. And so when you talk about Ford being able to lend, engineering resources somewhere else, I think that, remote rev maybe shouldn't be on the top of the pile.
Kick that to the back of the line.
Yeah. Andy, are you a sucker for any junk food tech?
I'm sure I am. At some level, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what that is, but I'm sure it's out there. I'm not
get you with the good tchotchke.
I'm not without my hypocrisies. I was actually going to suggest that the one thing this might be not this kind of technology, but this kind of make things louder system might be actually applicable to EVs because they're too quiet and you can't hear them coming. And
That's true.
If you're driving an F-150, you're much more likely to not see a pedestrian.
Yeah.
I really don't want to know who this tips the scale for in the car buying market. Like if Ford really wanted to improve society, they probably should go the complete opposite direction that prevent you from revving your engine entirely. That's not cool. Like this is not Grease. You're not cool when you rev your engine. Like
This is not Grease.
Yeah. Like so I don't know. I'll have to think about which junk food tech I'm into. I'm not a very technologically inclined person to begin with, so maybe not. Well, I'll think about it.
I mean, even with I can't even think of people that with an existing Mustang that are like, I need to rush out to the dealership and get me this remote rev.
Right.
And now time for a dumb thought from producer Alex. He says, if it's already running, I feel like it wouldn't cost much to set this up on the manufacturing production side. Could it be used to get someone away from your car from a distance?
That technology already exists, and it's called your alarm.
Yeah.
Just
sorry, Alex.
Well, I mean, he didn't say it was his good thought. No, but
it's cooler.
It is cooler. I mean, so you're saying like if
just
you would remote rev it if
the
someone was
alarm
trying
with
to
the
steal
revving
it?
sound then.
You just like growling
then you
at
don't
the
waste
person.
a bunch of gas.
This is the key to all the Kia, Hyundai, and now the Toyota through the headlight things. We just need remote rev to scare these.
And you got to be watching your vehicle at all times.
We should have been Ford's focus group for this.
Yeah, you should have just put us in a room with a box of donuts, Ford.
Yeah, we're going to get these at-risk youths scared away with some remote rev. This likely is not going to be Mustang's defining key innovation. The Mustang has actually done some really cool things when it comes to keys. The first Mustang key debuted in 1965, and it became like one of the first, if not the first, double-sided keys. So drivers could insert the key into the ignition without having to make sure it was the right side up. And for me, I'm like, wait a second, they figured this out in 65? Because I had an 88 Oldsmobile and they didn't figure it out yet.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, oh yes, you got to put it in the right way. In 1994, Ford Mustangs also began including optional key fobs, and by 1996, they included a passive anti-theft system linked to the key's transponder. Alex, maybe this could be a bridge in this anti-theft system. It's making sense. They even had some strides with remote start. So I think when it comes to that Netflix 8-part series on the Mustangs defining key innovations, I don't even know if the remote rev makes, a blip on the episode.
I'm gonna have to. My mom had a Mustang in the '60s. I'm gonna have to ask her about the key thing, whether that was tipping the scales on her debut car buying purchase.
I mean, seriously, that would make sense. I mean, that's like, I wouldn't tip the scales, but that's a perk where you're just like, all right, that's kind of cool.
I mean, it probably just looked cool. My mom would tell you she's not a cool person, but that car was objectively cool.
Yeah.
So. Oh yeah. Alex adds that this is the thing that leads to the anti-theft thing.
Maybe.
Like, we need a tone for Jeff. Like, we need like a Jeff laugh, like a in there or something. I don't know. That was a Jeff laugh, apparently. Apparently, a Jeff laugh in my mind is just what I use for my dad's laugh. So, work in progress.
We'll dive into that.
Work in progress.
We'll delve into that.
All right.
Jeff, call in. Can you do
Get him on the horn. Our next most popular story, GM ending production of Chevy Bolt EVs. The Bolt has lost its spark. General Motors is transitioning to electric vehicles, but the Chevy Bolt isn't on the roadmap. The company recently announced plans to wind down production on the Chevy Bolt by the end of this year. CEO Mary Barra said a GM plant near Detroit has been making Bolts since 2016 will be retooled to make electric trucks. The Bolt's imminent demise comes as the EV is still powering a big portion of GM's EV sales. The company sold more than 20,000 EVs in the U.S. during the first quarter, thanks to the third consecutive quarter of record Bolt EV and Bolt EUV deliveries. The EUV is the electric Bolt SUV. The sales pushed GM into second place in the domestic EV marketplace behind Tesla. But it looks like GM is going to rely on other EV models like the Cadillac Lyriq and the electric Chevy Silverado to continue growing EV sales. Chevy also launched EV versions of the Blazer and the Equinox, along with the GMC Sierra. Anna, is GM kind of jumping the gun by cutting out the Bolt, or is this just a sign of the evolution of the EV?
Yeah, I mean, this I think anyone could see coming. This is really just a dollars and cents decision. If you look at the MSRP on a Chevy Bolt, it's like $27,000. Mm-hmm. Compare that to the MSRP on a Cadillac Lyriq, for example, which is $59,000. Yeah. Even the Chevy Silverado, while that starts lower, around $40,000 to start, you can trick that thing out for more than $100,000 in the end, Man. You just don't have that much room on a smaller car like the Bolt. People aren't spending tens of thousands of dollars on features for these. Mm-hmm. And I think automakers, are just in a position where they need to make up some ground after investing so much in EVs. And I think that accelerates another famous automotive industry transition from smaller, cheaper vehicles to bigger, more expensive ones because they make more money there. Mm-hmm. They're most certainly not going to phase out heavy trucks and SUVs and replace them in their portfolios with lower price entry models, right?
Yeah.
And not to mention, they're following suit with what other automakers have done. They have their EV experiment model, I think, which is for them the Bolt. Nissan had the Leaf. That model is also
in peace.
Yeah, that model is also being phased out. What's most interesting about the Bolt, and you mentioned this in your lead in here, but it did reach sort of record sales volumes this year. It makes up a lot of their EV sales. They don't have that many EVs.
Right.
But analysts also pegged the reason for that sharp sales increase in 2022 and 2023 because of these giant price cuts that GM put into place to sell them after having a few lackluster years prior to that.
Okay. So they're just kind of clearing out the inventory.
I think so. And unfortunately, I think it points to that trends towards higher priced vehicles that we were already seeing with internal combustion, right? As Forbes recently pointed out, the death of the Bolt also highlights how few affordable EVs there really are. In 2023, and counting the Bolts, there are just 5 models that retail for under $40,000, none of which qualify for tax incentives. So the Bolt's passing is kind of leaving another hole in that market. And then, as Forbes says, reinforces consumers' concerns about price remaining a major barrier to EV adoption. So I think these automakers better hope that they can reach price parity as quick as they say, because the entry-level pocket is all but disappearing and really before this market has reached maturity. So they need to figure out how are they going to get people in the door if everything is going to start out so high. So they've really got to get the price down on some of these.
I think if they look at something like the Silverado, which they can get in the door at 40 versus, like an F-150 that starts at 100, maybe they're looking at that sort of disparity and thinking that they still have a little bit of an edge on the competition.
Yeah, thinking they can overcome it with that, maybe.
Zal, would you rather go with a $100,000 tricked out EV Silverado or base model F-150 Lightning?
I mean, everyone who knows me would say it's the base model.
Base model Bolt?
No, I'm not a tricked out pickup guy, to probably no one's surprise.
We all change as people over time.
That's true. Maybe
you just pull up next week and it's just like full everything tricked out Silverado. And it's like, see, we got them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those companies, they'll get you in the end. So there's a couple ways that you can kind of evolve your EV line as they get more advanced. Hyundai and other companies, they're taking the existing kind of their debut efforts, the Ioniq, and kind of giving them new numbers and evolving them and keeping that nameplate. And Nissan and Chevy have decided, no, we're going to just retire our initial efforts and then focus on other stuff. So even though it seems counterintuitive because of the record sales numbers, there might be some other things behind that, as we talked about. And they just kind of decided to focus their efforts elsewhere. There are some Chevy EVs coming down the pipe. They're more focused on, as all American automakers are and other automakers are, SUVs and trucks are more profitable. They're making an electric Blazer, an electric Silverado. Their new entry-level one, I believe, is the Equinox, and that'll start, I believe I read it, about 30,000, so not too much
not
higher.
Too bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will quickly increase from there with all the bells and whistles you can probably get on it. But even though it seems like an unusual time to make that call with the record sales numbers, it kind of tracks with what we've seen from other companies. So
yeah, I think one of the biggest changes between EV entry point and gasoline powered is when you get the base model. It typically with an EV, you're not just giving up like leather seats, you're giving up range. And so for people to go up to those higher levels, I think there's more of a case to be made for that. And that's why those prices in the end, can escalate super quickly.
So GM plans to produce 400,000 EVs over the course of 22, 23, and the first half of 24, including 50,000 EVs in North America in the first half of this year. And it's going to double that in the second half. Again, it's surprising to me that the Bolt is not a part of those plans, but every time I think of that Bolt price point, and I'm just like, man, that's just a low barrier to entry. Like it was never enough to like get me on board
Before, yeah.
And we've been car shopping recently, and it was like not even in our purview. Just I don't know. So maybe it's just a good sign of the times. Also, Nissan Leaf. Moment of silence.
You can still get one.
All right. Our most popular story this week. SpaceX giant rocket explodes minutes after launch from Texas. SpaceX's new rocket exploded minutes after blasting off Thursday during its first test flight. The wreckage crashed into the Gulf of Mexico. The company was trying to send the 400-foot Starship rocket on a round-the-world trip. Now, it was just a test, so no people or satellites were harmed in the accident. Multiple engines weren't working on the 33-engine rocket as it climbed from the launch pad, reaching as high as 24 miles. The rocket began to tumble and exploded 4 minutes into the flight. CEO Elon Musk said, quote, "An exciting test launch of Starship. Learned a lot for next test launch in a few months." Before the flight, Musk gave 50-50 odds that the spacecraft would even reach orbit. Starship is built to send people and cargo to the moon and eventually Mars. So the other side of that giant crane necessity conversation we were having earlier. Anna, they kind of saw, or actually Andy, I apologize. They kind of saw the, improbability of this being a successful mission, and even the 50-50 odds of it reaching orbit may have seemed ambitious. But regardless of successes and failures, it seems like SpaceX, of all things, they do learn from their mistakes and continue on at a breakneck pace.
They do. This is not obviously the first time that we've seen one of their prototype rockets go up in flames. It's kind of accepted as kind of the cost of doing business for them as they get more advanced and go deeper and deeper into space. This one, obviously these stories always do well because, you show the footage of the rocket blowing up and everyone's like,
Well, SpaceX almost uses it as like viral marketing.
Yeah, they do. And this one, obviously this is this record rocket ship, big stainless steel going to Mars type. So of course it's going to draw, but I'm curious whether what got lost afterward is also part of this too, which is that, this was a huge explosion, way bigger than the company and I think even some experts thought would happen. There was debris. What's NBC News reported that SpaceX initially expected or told people to expect a 1 square mile field of debris in the case of an anomaly, doing air quotes for our podcast listeners.
Anomaly.
The anomaly. Particulate matter was found, it spread at least 6 miles away to a couple of different communities there, broke windows in nearby businesses. It also basically blew a giant hole in the launch pad and spewed concrete everywhere. And an environmental group noted that there are, of course, fuel tanks near there, which would not be great for sending flying concrete around. So this, the company is grounded under this kind of routine mishap investigation for the time being. We'll see, how long that will take. But now this would be bad enough. But as we've gone over ad nauseum here, its chief executive hasn't really done a lot to generate confidence in the last year and change. So it almost seems sloppy. And Elon Musk doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore with this stuff, does he?
I don't know. I think that some people are still able to separate successes on one end from failures on the other. But maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know.
SpaceX, I think, has more of a track record that people, myself included, are willing to kind of separate what is going well at SpaceX versus, potential failures at social media platforms as you run them into the ground.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were willing to look the other way on this sort of stuff before, and I wonder if that's still there now. I'm not speaking for myself. I couldn't tell you one way or the other, but I just wonder if the broader public is a little more skeptical about things now.
If you're 6 miles away, do you understand that when something hits you from the sky and it's like a charred piece of debris, like, do you think, oh, that's right, the launch? Or are you just like, no, clearly the world is ending? Like, do you go full Chicken Little?
I feel like they would have known that the launch was happening. Certainly you could have heard it.
Disruptive.
I think the debris wasn't 6 miles away, or the concrete, the shrapnel, or
but like
that wasn't
pieces,
6 miles away.
Pieces of the
dust and the sound breaking your window.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was sound breaking window. It wasn't like
I'm assuming that here. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. And one of the more impressive parts of this was the destruction to the launch pad. And that's something that, is replaceable, but it's going to take a lot of time, effort, and cost to make that happen.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really notable element to this, and Andy brought it up as well, was that launch pad. The footage that everyone was seeing was this explosion of the rocket, but actually, and it was a very impressive feat that it spent 4 minutes in the air, of course, but the launch pad was really like irrevocably damaged. So according to space.com, when the dust cleared at Starbase after the liftoff, a scene of wreckage emerged. Starship's 33 first-stage Raptor engines blew out a crater beneath the orbital launch mount, pummeling nearby infrastructure with flying trunks of cement and other debris. SpaceX apparently uses an orbital launch mount design that does not have a flame trench, which is a structure that's designed to sort of deflect the plume exhaust away from the pad during liftoff. This is like the standard design in space development. And SpaceX ultimately decided not to dig a flame trench, a choice at the time Elon Musk said, quote, could turn out to be a mistake. So apparently SpaceX's defense here is not that the launch pad design isn't effective, rather that the approach of using a massive water-cooled steel plate to go under the launch mount, which is what they're doing, just wasn't ready in time, and so they launched anyway. So that was where I think the critical or not of Elon Musk or whoever made that decision, that's where things went wrong with that launch pad. Space.com said that it was because they figured that the orbital mount's underlying concrete, which is a special heat-resistant type called Fondag, could survive one liftoff. Clearly, they were wrong there. I guess we'll just have to hope that they don't use this approach again. I think between the costly damage and this FAA grounding that Andy referenced, I don't think that would be wise. But I do, I've said this before, I agree with your points about how long do you give leadership the benefit of the doubt, especially when there are like maybe potential life or death situations here. Like how many other companies can you name that have a CEO that is in charge of multiple companies that have like such a dramatic reach, could have such a dramatic impact on life or death scenarios, automotive, aerospace, Twitter, maybe not Twitter, but my point is, like, I've said for years, I think he's doing too much. And at some point, I think this reflects poorly on that decision to continue to keep him in a position of leadership at some of these companies that have these big, big projects underway.
I guess we'll see what happens, because right now, the biggest thing for SpaceX's success is the cost savings that all of their customers are able to realize as a result of how SpaceX does everything and does it with a repeatability.
Right.
And, it's just cheaper to do things commercially than it has been with the public sector. If we see, so NASA has reserved a Starship for its next moonwalking team. Maybe if we see NASA back off of that, we might see some movement in terms of, people at SpaceX knowing that there needs to be a change at the top. Rich tourists are booking flyby flights on these Starships. Maybe if they start canceling, maybe if they start seeing some real impact financially, they might actually make a change. But until there is a suitable competitor, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not. I want it to work. I think that their business model is cool, and they, the fact that they want to reuse stuff is very cool. That's never been done.
Yeah.
So I want it to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the evolution of space, this reusability that you talk about. The stainless steel rocket is designed to be fully reusable with a faster turnaround. That's going to dramatically lower costs. It is important to note that nothing was expected to be saved from this test flight. So it's not like they're out an expected reusable rocket. Zal, do you think it's going to take some, real money to be pulled off the table in order for SpaceX to make some changes at the top?
I wonder. It hasn't happened so far. I'm curious. I mean, where the line is as far as if something's not ready, where they pull the plug. Because if they didn't pull it here, where do they in the future if they're carrying satellites or astronauts or space tourists or what have you? Like at one point where they say, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's
happened before and it hasn't gone well.
True. Yeah. And I think the launch pad was intended to be reused.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. It does have, it depends on how you interpret his sort of laissez-faire approach to failures like this. Some people see it as being charismatic and bold, where he's just like, whoa, we've got some things to learn here for the next one. I mean, if you look at the Japanese company that tried to land on the moon and failed this week also, if you watch the press conference of the leader of that company just being like, we don't know what things are. Things did not go well. He looks scared, timid. It doesn't look like somebody that you necessarily trust that they're going to land that lunar next time, where Musk just goes out there and he's like, oh, yeah, it was a big fire though, right? We'll get it next time though. I don't know.
That instills trust in you.
Maybe find a happy medium between those two, between terror and hubris.
Very, very good. Very good point.
All right. So a bridge. We'll find a bridge. Before we move on to, in case you missed it this week, the stories that maybe weren't as popular on the websites, but still stand to make a big impact on the industry going forward, we have another word from our sponsor about an upcoming video podcast from SpaceX. Hi, I'm David Manty with Industrial Equipment News. Selecting the right hoses to keep your workers safe and facilities operational is crucial, but not all hoses are created equal. So, to help us work it out, Doug Nordstrom, hose product manager at SpaceX, is going to help us figure it out. Tuesday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. Central, please join us live. So, Doug, I heard that you can get lightning bolts in hoses. Is that true? And is that something we're going to discuss?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware of something called static dissipation, especially through softer material hoses like Teflon. It's a very common failure, and it actually is a lightning bolt that shoots through the hose, causing leakage.
No one wants that.
No one wants that.
And we're going to figure it out May 23rd. It's a Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. Register now to join us live. Hi, it's me again. And just a reminder that this week's episode is brought to you by SpaceX. Hose failures are unfortunately a very common source of equipment downtime and can create significant safety risks. So join us on Tuesday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. Register right now for Mastering Hose Selection in Your Facility. It's a new live video podcast. Be the master of your hose. Jeff emailed during the break a comment saying that his laugh is the product of drinking great quantities of beer and eating delicious fruit-filled desserts. Thus, David will never understand or be able to emulate it. Touché, Jeff. Touché. Nor would I want to. That sounds like a terrible evening. I want nothing but gin and chocolate.
Beer and pie.
That's right. Oh, it sounds like every holiday in my house. All right. Now, in case you missed it, the stories maybe not as popular, but still stand to make a big impact on the industry going forward. I went with something that, wasn't as popular on our sites, but, you may have heard about. A giant animatronic dragon burst into flames at Disneyland. So last weekend, in case you missed it, the Fantasmic show at Disneyland offered a twist on its typical ending. The show's fire-breathing animatronic dragon burst into flames, and everyone watched as park personnel tried to clear them out, but they just were not going to stop recording that thing. Nobody was hurt, and the show was stopped almost immediately once they realized that the blaze wasn't going according to plan. The head of the dragon caught fire, and moments later, the entire thing was engulfed in flames. In the show, Mickey Mouse battles a giant dragon named Maleficent? Maleficent. Man, I just had that right until I needed to say it. And then it was just like, Maleficent? It's Maleficent. That's got to be it. So who knew that Mickey Mouse was such a pyromaniac? Though it's unknown whether or not this dragon was a form of self-immolation. Now, the show will go on, at least in Orlando, where they have a different dragon with a different fire-breathing function. Disney World did have regular maintenance scheduled, so maybe they're going to give that a twice over. Disney did suspend fire effects similar to those used on the West Coast out of an abundance of caution, which, given the blaze, if you've seen the video, sounds like a great plan. The cause of the fire remains under investigation, but arson investigators did respond to the scene.
Really?
Yes. And it is just a reminder that you can learn from your mistakes, and even if your metaphorical 45-foot tall robotic dragon burns to the ground, you too shall overcome. Did either of you have a chance to watch this footage? Anna, Maleficent?
Maleficent.
Caught just a harsh end.
It's just So it's a fire-breathing dragon, correct?
It is a fire-breathing dragon, but the fire didn't come out of its mouth so much as it came like from, I mean, I guess if dragons had gills, it came from the gills. And then just like the alien out of the stomach came out and then everything went up.
So we're thinking that's likely arson?
To me, it looked like a mechanical failure. It did not look like, I mean, maybe if it's arson in terms of like sabotage. But yeah, no, it didn't look like arson to me. It looked like a mechanical failure, which is, I plan on, tracking this story until we actually figure out if Disneyland comes out with an official report as to what happened.
Okay, so for me, giant things on fire is like kind of like where you secretly like the smell of gas and you feel weird about it. Like every once in a while, if I just want to have nightmares, I look up that picture of, do you remember when Big Tex, that giant statue in Texas, started on fire? And it's like the most horrifying, but like you cannot look away. If you guys can, I don't know if you can, the producers can pull that up at all, but
Big Tex fire.
Do you know what I'm talking about, David?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Once you see it, you're going to be like, oh, I can't unsee it.
Well, for me, another thing was that also just a note of safety in the event that you're near such an explosion and the crew at whatever land you're in is trying to get you out of there. What? Oh, leave.
Alex.
Alex clearly saw the footage.
Yeah.
No, but part of the video that I found the most interesting is everyone's holding up their cell phones, right? And they're just like, please, the show has been canceled. Please exit the grounds. And everyone's like, no.
It's very much like a live action Simpsons episode. Everyone's like trying to like, please leave in an orderly fashion. There's this enormous fire in the background and everyone's like, ooh.
Yeah, due to an unforeseen, this is Big Tex going down?
This is what Big Tex looks like. His whole head starts on fire.
Is that
he's like
the
50,
state fair?
Yeah, he's like 50 feet tall. He would be at the state fair every year. Could you imagine seeing that in real life?
I would imagine that would give some kids a few tremors, yeah.
Forever.
Forever, yeah. Also, that is a black smoke coming off of Big Tex. I mean, something has to be said about how Big Tex pre-fire was already terrifying.
So terrifying.
Yeah. Did they bring back Big Tex?
I don't know.
Did he live again?
I don't know about that. I'll have to look that up.
All right. Well, again, in the event that your 45-foot tall robotic dragon burns to the ground, you too shall overcome. Andy, what is your in case you missed it this week?
I feel like maybe we should have ended with that one.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
We'll try next time.
Yeah.
The Federal Aviation Administration has apparently authorized the first commercial electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So a new commercial flight breakthrough, sort of. It applies to the Guardian SC-1, which is made by a Massachusetts company called Guardian Aircraft. And what it is, it's basically a drone crop duster. So the company says that farmers want to get away from conventional aerial and ground spraying. Autonomous systems offer more precision at equal or lower cost. And this platform, unlike other rivals, the company says, is large enough for large-scale agriculture.
Okay.
So the company says that this will enable safer, more efficient applications, which I would contend is a good first step as we try to mitigate our use of pesticides as best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And although it's a groundbreaking decision by the FAA, people worried about whether it means wave after wave of commercial eVTOLs through the skies. I wouldn't worry about that too much just yet. This is for agriculture, so farm fields, rather than delivery drones and much more crowded areas.
As long as this is not that leads to the Amazon drone thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to clear this before we'll get to that, but for now, I'm sure that day is coming. But for now,
once they greenlight Amazon drone delivery, it's going to black out the skies, man.
You would think
there are going to be so many of those things. Mm-hmm. I really found this story to be really cool because we were actually working out on my dad's property, and we were out in the farm kind of clearing the tree line of everything that fell during a recent ice storm and had a fire in the field as they were spraying the field across. And I'm like, if the wind was blowing any other direction, I would not be comfortable. But it was like a strong wind heading in the other direction. So stories like this that could be more precise, I find fascinating. Is this Is the idea that drones would eventually be able to identify specific areas that need to be treated and then treat them? Or would it still, like in a pattern, slowly treat the entire field?
I'm under the gun here, but I will pull up the article on my laptop.
On your laptop, okay.
It's just printer paper.
No, it's all right. I was just curious.
It's not a laptop at all.
It's not a laptop. You asked me if I was technically inclined earlier as I'm like shuffling papers.
Well, while you check that out,
yeah.
Anna, what did you think of the new eVTOL that was received approval?
I think it's cool. It's crazy to think about how much stuff gets to, before it kind of reaches full effect prime time, starts out in agriculture.
Yeah.
You think about farming and, it's hard to, it's not often the first thing you think of in terms of like being technically progressive. And I know a lot of small farms are not, but if you look at like the first electric vehicles, some of those were tractors,
Yeah.
There's
tractors.
There's a lot more happening with AI and some of those leading edge technologies. And obviously here with Aero, very interesting to consider that this could be used in agriculture first.
Well, and if you look at it, like if you look at the size of some of those driven vehicles that they use to spray, they are massive pieces of capital equipment. And I have to imagine this costs less than a tire on one of those things. Andy, did you find anything?
We have, it uses, it says here, according to the release, software generating domestically stored data and standard nozzles, pressure, droplet sizes, and application volumes to offer on-target application to fields when and where necessary.
See, that's cool to me because then you're right. That does mean potentially the use of less pesticides.
Less on food, less in the air.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, Anna, what was your in case you missed it this week?
Sure. So I picked a story titled China Pushes to Digitize Mines in Attempt to Make Them Safer. So apparently China is using smart technology to try to improve its safety record in coal mines as part of a push by the National Energy Administration to bolster output and also stem frequent accidents and collapses. Obviously, we cover this stuff a lot. Where people get trapped in mines, there's explosions in mines. This still happens far more regularly than I think people would like to see. Smart mine sensors, in this case, are meant to monitor aspects such as gas buildup and flooding or ventilation levels. And they set off an alert if any reach a dangerous level. I know this kind of technology already exists and it's being used in plants and things like that. But this is designed by Huawei. And it's expressly for mines. The sensors are located inside the mine and on carts and tools. They transfer the data via 5G, and that allows for real-time monitoring by like a central command station, basically. So they're doing a pilot right now with the state-owned Shaanxi Coal Industry Company. And it's allowed that company to reduce the number of people working underground by 42% at one mine, while also increasing production levels. So the miners are now basically working with the help of robots, which monitor equipment and collect coal. So obviously hundreds are still dying every year in mines. This is what smart technology is for, removing humans from dangerous and non-value-added tasks. Unfortunately for many in the most dangerous mining applications, those are like illegal mines.
They're not the people that are going to outfit their mines with this equipment.
Right. I'm just hoping that potentially maybe if the improvements in efficiency are enough, maybe the cost savings sends this trickle down a little bit to some of those. But yeah, unfortunately, any life saved is important, right? So like obviously for the above the board mining operations, like in the coal industry in China, hopefully these will be used. I mean, this could make a huge difference, obviously, in terms of making sure people get out of those mines alive.
I thought this was a very timely article also because I think Huawei has been taking a bath in the consumer market, especially after all the sanctions.
Yeah.
And they had recently come out and said that they were going to be in more industrial applications. So it was surprising to see such success in mining so quickly. Also, when you said that they're pushing to digitize mines, I'll admit that I was like scared that I was going to click it and see that I was just like mining in the metaverse. Just like it's so much safer in the metaverse, but it doesn't yield raw materials.
This is virtual coal. We can't burn this.
Andy, it's got to be good. I mean, even if they finally realize, even if they're saving lives because they're realizing a better ROI, it's a better path forward.
It is, but the cynic in me might suggest that the output and Huawei's industrial ambitions might be weighing on that equation a little more than safety.
Do you think so?
I mean, if they wanted to improve their abysmal mining safety record, there are ways to do that besides smart technology.
Yeah, like
any improvement?
Just doing base level mine safety.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that would be a start, but
Yes.
they're just leaping forward.
That's right.
All right. Well, before we get out of here this week, let's do our final thoughts. Anna, what is your final thought this week?
So we took the kids over the weekend to at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The engineering department was doing expo, and they were doing like their final projects, and they would let kids come in and they would explain to them their projects and how they made them and what. So the kids got to do some really cool stuff. They got to make robots move. They got to play with a robot dog, drive a race car simulation thing. But the engineering students built the race car. There was a lot of very cool stuff on display there. And then after we left, all three of my kids said they want to be engineers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super sweet. But stuff like that where they can really get hands-on with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't think about how some of these engineering principles are applied, and not just little kids, but older kids and adults. Being able to understand some of the cool applications and the problem solving that really goes into what an engineer does. I think it can also be applied to manufacturing careers as well. But I think just a good reminder that people in the industry, if you put yourselves out there and try to make your business and what you do a little bit more accessible, sometimes you can really make a difference in kids and even adults understanding maybe this is a cool career path, right? So
100% success rate at the Engineering Expo.
Yeah, I think there's a ways to go before. I don't think they're actually technically engineers yet.
Okay.
I
close.
think they're close, but I think there's a few more steps that they have to take. But
We'll see how we do when we get to Calculus 2 or whatever.
right, yeah.
I mean, you raise a really good point about getting out there in your communities, because we're lucky being in the Madison area. That our community is very active in sort of offering these types of learning sessions for kids. One of my cousins, who is a civil engineer, recently did one at the public library also, where, I mean, he's a civil engineer, moving water. And you're just like, wow, what is that going to do for kids? Blew all the kids' minds.
Oh, yeah.
Blew all the kids' minds. They're like, wait, you go underground? And it's just, so it's incredible. And if you're in a community that maybe doesn't offer those things, start something. It doesn't take that much. It takes a flyer and a library. Andy, what's your final thought this week?
I don't think I've been on the podcast since I bought a new car.
Oh, okay.
And it's my first one that has a touchscreen in it. And one of my first thoughts when I was putzing around with it was, wow, this is really not safe. And I thought it was just because, as we've established here, I'm not very technologically savvy. I assumed Gen Z drivers were just whipping around just like very easily, like half a second, eyes back on the road. But I read a Slate article this week about how broadly consumers hate these things, and they're just kind of the auto industry just like overthinking things. And some companies are going back to buttons and knobs. So it made me feel better, a little better about myself. Not too much, but a little better about myself, and that hopefully maybe my next car will go back to the old radio dial. We'll see.
I mean, strong point to be said about buttons and knobs. Just because, also, I don't know how responsive is your touchscreen, because mine's a little finicky, and so you wind up like looking at it twice just to get it to work right.
Yep. I have it kind of left on a standard screen, so I gave myself like 5 buttons that I can actually push, and other than that, forget it. I don't want to deal with it. So
well, also
it'll be a adventure when my satellite radio trial runs out.
Well, so does it pull your contacts in from your phone?
It's all Bluetooth connected and stuff like that. It'll even when my wife's in the car, it'll pop up, say I have a message, and she'll be like, "Do you want it to read it for you?" I was like, "Absolutely not.
Yeah,
no, just leave it."
No,
It'll be fun.
That's another thing for me. where the contacts pop up, and because the touchscreen is a little finicky, whenever you hit the contact, it just starts calling them.
Oh.
And I wind up calling, either the person underneath my dad or the person above my wife, and it is some contact still in my phone from when I did sports journalism 20 years ago, and I'm just like, hey, Jeremy, still have this number, huh? Hi. It's just really weird.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
calling someone accidentally I haven't talked to in 25 years. Cool.
I mean, luckily my kids are so loud when I'm on the phone that they don't even know what's going on.
Just blame it on them.
Yeah, somebody called and they were screaming a lot.
You can hang up, right?
Huh?
You can hang up, right?
Yeah, but
they see when you call.
No, but you push it and then I'm driving as it's calling, and then I'm just like, ah!
Oh, see, I would just be like, boop, boop, boop.
What happened to the touchscreen? Oh, yeah. I had to tear it out of the car.
Yeah, I
wasn't ending the call.
I was calling a stranger and I had to light it on fire.
All right, my final thought for this week is first, Jeff, hopefully you stay healthy, and if not, make sure to treat it with regular fruit-filled desserts and beers. I hear that is the best way to beat a virus.
Yeah, Jeff seems fine.
Right? He seems to have his wits about him right now. Also, as I kind of mentioned previously, last weekend, did a lot of hard labor out on the farm, and sometimes it's a good reminder of how good you feel after a hard day's work in the immediate aftermath. And then maybe the days afterwards, it gets a little bit more difficult on the body. As you get a little older. But, it was pretty simple. We pulled dead trees out of a tree line with big tractors and then had a big fire. But, it was 8 hours of hard labor, but it was a really good time. So, don't always be opposed to that. But before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Also, please no mention of big tech's and its giant fiery demise, which is in front of us now. And I do see the terror now. I will dream of that later.
Can I just say, though, I think big tech's got rebuilt according to the internet.
Okay.
So
Big Tex lives again, and did it have less of a plastic and human face?
No, same terrible, terrifying face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he seems to be still. Oh, there he is.
I feel like Big Tex was made by somebody's cousin that liked paper mache.
He's still doing this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's the new one with the red, white, and blue shirt.
Yeah, Big Tex is trying to welcome you in.
Bring back the toothy grin.
Just
what are we
leering
doing?
down at you
I think that that's a giant hug that he's gonna grab you and never let you go until you slowly die. But hey, I haven't seen an attraction. It's a good reason to go to Texas.
Kind of want some brisket now.
Also, make sure to subscribe to our daily and weekly newsletters. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. And subscribe to us on YouTube at IEN Magazine so you can join us live and join Jeff in the live chat as he fights illness and, delights us with quips. For Andy Zoll, Jeff Ranke, and Anna Wells, I'm David Manty. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.